Welcome to the Take America Back to God show. I'm your host, Pastor Derek Rogers, and we are going to be talking about the Dave Ramsey Financial Peace University. I wanted to let you guys know that we're going to be hosting the Dave Ramsey Financial Peace classes here at our church, at the Cowboy Church of Corsicana. It's a 9-week course, and it's about an hour to an hour and a half, 9 weeks in a row. So we want to invite you guys out there, if you're not a part of our church family and you would like to come and take this financial peace class from Dave Ramsey, you can contact somebody from our church, contact me or an elder in our church, or just some friend that you have in our church. Call the church, email the church, and let us know. The cost is $60 per person. If you're a member of the church, it's free, but if you're not a member of our church, it's a $60 value. But it includes a 9-week course, and we just opening this up for other people outside of our church family to come be a part of this class. We're going to be hosting this class on Sunday afternoons at 3 o'clock. We're going to be doing it then because we have a lot of people who commute to our church from as far away as an hour and a half. That way it enables people that are already made the trip here to church to go have lunch and then come back and we'll do the class. A 9-week commitment. When does it start? It's going to start on the first Sunday afternoon in January, and that is January the 5th. So we'll start time about 3, probably be done by 4 to 4:30, get you back home so you can be prepared for work, get kids prepared for school. So I want to encourage you to invite a friend, invite a family. If you know a young couple that's just newly married, or a couple that is planning to get married that may be engaged, invite them. This is going to be a life-changing course for finances. And the Bible, when we talk about finances, the Bible speaks much about finances. I looked it up, and the Bible talks about money or possessions around 2,000 times. If it mentions the word money and talks about the actual word money 140 times in the New King James Version. And so God has much to say about money, much to say about the way we handle money, and gives us a lot of wisdom and knowledge and insight into our finances. And what we want to do is, as a church family, is we want to learn how to do things God's way. We want you to learn how to do things God's way. And through this Dave Ramsey Financial Peace University, it is just that. It's a class that teaches us. It's biblically based and with a lot of common sense and a lot of insight from somebody that's very wise in the financial industry of how we can become debt-free by doing things God's way and handling our money God's way. Proverbs chapter 22 verse 7 tells us that the borrower becomes a slave to the lender. And I think that all of us can relate to that who have had loans or borrowed money. We understand that we are then enslaved by the bank, by the credit union, by a friend, by whoever loans us money. We're almost enslaved by them. Well, the Bible calls it being enslaved by them, because then we spend much of our time, our energy, our focus, everything that we do is geared towards making money in order to pay back those loans. And so the Word of God wants us to be free from that. God doesn't want us to be slave to anybody or anything other than Him. He wants us to be able to devote our time, our effort, our energy, our focus, everything about us. He wants us to be able to devote that to Him. And when we become a slave to something else, or we create idols and put idols in our life, then that takes our focus off of God and becomes a wall between us and God. So anyway, we're going to be offering that class. We'd love for you to come and be a part of it, whether you're our church family, whether you're not. Again, for our church family, it's free. For those of you that are not part of this church family, we're still going to offer you an opportunity to come to the class. $60, 9 weeks. First week, January the 5th. That's a Sunday afternoon. It's going to be every Sunday afternoon for 9 weeks, starting at 3 o'clock, about an hour, hour and a half long. Today with me, I have the Whitakers. This is Sean and Trina Whitaker. They have brought this class to our church attention, and they have helped us institute and get prepared to have this class. But they themselves have been through this class in years past. I think it was in 2019. Is that what you guys told me? They found themselves at a place in their marriage. They have 2 teenage boys. They were bogged down in debt. It was consuming their lives. It was coming between their family it really was just taking over their lives. They had become a slave to those whom they had borrowed from. And they went through this Dave Ramsey Financial Peace University. And today, just 5 or 6 years later from when they took the class, they are here and they are debt free. And so today we're just going to talk a little bit about their testimony and how they learned things through this class, so that you understand that everyday people that are bogged down in debt, if you put these classes into practice, use the principles in your life, you too can become debt free and enjoy having the weight taken off, enjoy having the chains broken off, and you can learn how to do things God's way. So Sean, Trina, it's good to have you all with us today. And I want you guys to share your testimony with us so that the folks out there that see our Take America Back to God podcast, they can just see that it does work in everyday people's lives. And when you're willing to make the time and the sacrifices to attend the class and then practice what the class teaches, you too can experience a life of being debt free. So you guys tell me just a little bit about when you took this class, and then give me a little bit of a history of what began to take place and transform because of this class, and how it impacted your lives and how it can impact their lives.
Go ahead. Well, we started back in 2019. It was like March of 2019, and we had just over $200,000 in consumer debt, and it wasn't that we couldn't pay our bills. We could pay our bills fine, but I was working 16 to 20 hours a day, 7 days a week, and I was hardly seeing our boys, hardly home, exhausted when I was home, and it was just, I'd had it. We'd had enough of working those kind of hours. So we started the plan. The biggest thing was the budget, and I'll let you talk a little bit about the envelope system that we used.
So this is kind of a common story in the lives of families today that are consumed with debt. So you said because of the debt, instead of working 8 hours a day, you were having to work almost 2 days in one day, 12, 14, 16 hours a day. And many families out there find themselves having to work, consumed with work to try to pay back debts, which, just like you said, it interferes when you have 2 kids, 3 kids, 1 kid, or however many children you have. When you're working, the more time you're away from those kids working, and the more time you're away from your family working, the more opportunity there is for a wall to be built there in your relationship, for separation, disconnection. And a lot of times you hear a lot about husbands and wives who end up divorced is they say that we just lost our connection. We both seem to be going another way. And that's one of the things that debt can do to a family, is it can divide a family. And mom's at work 12, 14 hours a day. Dad's at work somewhere else 12, 14 hours a day. The kids then, when mom and dad are not there, mom and dad are working, the kids are left alone without parental supervision, without guidance. And then mom and dad, when you come home and come together, you're tired, you're wore out, you're irritable, you're frustrated. You just can't give your best to the family when that happens. And so, Sean, go ahead and tell me what you were going to say.
Well, and, one of the systems that we used that Dave Ramsey teaches is the envelope system, and that was our way to kind of get our budget organized, because it's really easy if you have a debit card or a credit card to just go to the store and put it on the card and you never think about how much you're spending. Well, the envelope system puts cash in an envelope, and that's dedicated to groceries or dedicated to fuel for your vehicles or your different expenses. And so that really helped keep us on track for our budget. But like you said, it's when you're in debt, in that much debt, it really, because it was the 200 plus in consumer debt, but it was also our mortgage, so it brought us over $500,000 in debt. So it was a lot, and it puts a lot of stress.
The $200,000 in debt was not counting your mortgage?
Not counting the mortgage.
So when you had the $200,000 in debt, I guess we're talking about what? Vehicles,
RVs,
vehicles. Toys, all of those things.
All the regular
all the regular things that everybody wants to have and enjoy. And then when you put a house in there on top of it, you had how much?
$650,000.
$650,000 in debt. So you said something that I think is important. When you're using credit cards, you don't feel the pain until the bill comes in. So it's easy to spend money that you don't have, spend money that you're not making if you're using a credit card. And because you can just go up there and throw the card down and you're not going to feel the effects till 30 days later or whenever the bill comes in. You don't feel any effect that day. But what you're saying is Dave Ramsey teaches to use cash and then put the cash in envelopes so that every time you spend money, you know exactly how much cash, exactly where it's going. So it's kind of getting you on a budget where you're not spending money that you don't have. Is that kind of what you're telling me?
That's exactly it. And we'll just use the grocery store, for example, is if you have we'll just a round number. If you have a $500 grocery budget for the month, you have $500 in cash in that envelope. If you go to the grocery store, and you spend a couple hundred, and then the next time you spend another couple hundred, and then it's getting towards the end of the month, but you only have $100 left. You're going to make sure that that you're sticking to your budget because you only have $100 left to spend on groceries.
Right.
So you're going to have to make what you have left, work,
So
and that makes you stick to a budget.
At the first of the month, I guess he teaches which. Once we go through these classes, we're going to learn about
I hope
this.
explain a lot.
But
more.
I wanted you guys to share your testimony of how it impacted your lives and how much good it's done in your lives so that other people will be encouraged to come take this class, commit to the 9 weeks. So I guess at the first of the month, you're taught to set aside a budget.
Yes, at the first of the month, you make your budget.
So now we're almost living in a cashless society where a lot of places won't even take cash. So how is it going to work? Of course, he may tell us in this class, and you may not have an answer. You may, because probably since 2019, we're a lot less cash society than we were then due to all the COVID things and all that. A lot of people who used to take cash stopped taking cash, and they hadn't started back taking cash. So if a family's never operated in cash, how do you make that adjustment? Did you guys operate in cash or solely on credit card before you started this practice? Was this something foreign to you when you started this cash?
There's both
practice?
ways of doing it. So the Financial Peace University offers the Every Dollar budget, which can attach directly to your bank account. And so every time you do a transaction, it shows up on your phone and your spouse's phone if you're married. And then you just drag and drop those into whatever you budgeted. So if it's groceries and you budgeted $500, you spent $100, you just drag and drop that $100 into your $500, and it shows you what's left, so you're both on the same page. We chose the envelope system because it worked better for us.
More tangible.
Yeah, because you're seeing the money actually disappear out of your hand, and you know exactly what's left. So, but they have both systems. I mean, both systems definitely work.
So there are different ways to do it. You can do it like you guys chose to do it with just using cash, putting it in envelopes, so you knew exactly where it was going, how much was there. And let's just talk about the illustration that you used of $500 for groceries. So if you had spent, let's say it's the 20th of the month, and you've already spent $400, and you got $100 left to last you until the 31st of that month, that keeps you from spending money that you don't have, right? So you realize, hey, here it is the 20th. We've only got $100 left, so instead of eating prime rib and steaks the next 2 weeks, we're gonna have to eat red beans and rice and cornbread.
It can make it creative.
Or bologna and bread. It can help you adjust those things to your financial status. Whereas if you didn't have that budget, you didn't see where it was going, you just throw the credit card out there. We eat steaks every night or prime rib every night, and you don't feel any effects of it until the bill comes in, and then you get the bill and you say, "Oh my Lord, we spent $1,000 this month just eating out or buying groceries." So I guess that budget really tightens you up, and it helps you keep track. And so I guess you got to have a little bit of discipline, because let's just say that you end up at the 25th of the month, your $500 for groceries are gone. You don't have any more money budgeted that month for groceries. What do? Did you guys ever find yourself in this predicament? And how'd you handle it?
I don't.
If you did, maybe it wasn't groceries, maybe it was some other area where you ran out of money. You ran out of money before you ran out of month.
Well, on fuel.
Did you cheat? or did you stay disciplined to this plan? Tell me in real life how it worked.
In real, well, in real life it worked both ways. You can explain it, but in real life it worked both ways. There was some times where fuel seemed to run out more often than grocery money. But yes, it can run out, and it's like there was times where fuel money's out. Okay, I guess we're not going anywhere. Of course you still have to get back and forth to work.
Yeah, but maybe you don't take a trip that you might have wanted to take, or you don't go visit somebody you might want to go to visit.
Yeah,
or
you kind of
so,
cut back on some things,
right.
And you just have to be, you have to be disciplined at how you're spending that money, and maybe look at it. If it happens more than once, then you got to look at your budget and make some changes.
Maybe increase the.
We did the envelopes because I'm not the computer phone savvy person that Trina is, so the phone thing, the everyday dollar, budget works better for someone like her, but she can always teach me and bring me along too. But the cash worked better in my mind.
Yeah, that way you both could understand it.
Yeah. I mean, the budget gives you permission to spend. It's not like supposed to completely restrict you. So when they teach it to don't put less in there because you're trying to look great to pay off all this debt. You need to be, reality. What's reality for that budget?
You got to really budget what it really takes to.
Right. So you go back and look at like the last 3 months of what you spent on groceries and gas and all that kind of stuff, and then you kind of say, okay, well, this is about what I spent averaged out over the last 3 months. This is what I'm going to budget. It doesn't mean you can't change it next month.
Yeah.
So it's just basically knowing where your money's going instead of just wondering where it went.
So if you take this class, it's a commitment. It's not just a commitment for the 9 weeks you take this class. It is a life change, lifestyle commitment that you're going to have to decide that you're willing to make changes in the way you do things. Especially when you have a husband and wife and you have two people and two opinions and two ideas. Let's just say that you got a husband and wife. I don't know how you guys are, but sometimes you may have one spouse who's just loves to spend, and then you got one spouse that's a tightwad and loves to save. You got to figure out a way to make that work where the one who's saving is not saving too much that you can't live, and then the one who's spending is not spending so much that you can't survive. So somewhere along the way, did you guys encounter that, or are you guys financially minded the same direction, or was one of you more prone to spend and one of you more prone to save? What about you guys? How does that work for in your marriage?
I think we're pretty close. I would say Sean spends more than I do.
Yeah,
she doesn't, unless it's on the kids.
Shopping.
Yeah, unless it's on the kids. And now, with internet, it's like it's easier for her to spend money on the kids.
Oh, it's easy to shop now. You can get on the internet and look up Oakley sunglasses and punch the button and send them your credit card, and there you go. Yeah.
Or your debit card.
That's
where cash doesn't work on the computer. But
yeah, right. Yeah.
She would rein me in, and it's self-control. It's like, oh, I really would like to have that, but it's just not in the budget.
Husband and wife are going to have to be committed to this way of life. Can't be one or without the other.
I think it's one give.
Both people
one's
got
to give a little bit, one's got to take.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So it's not total cut off. It's like it's some people are like us and can immediately change everything, and some people might have to build in. Kind of gradually go into it a little bit. And that's kind of we were able to just completely cut it off because we had it.
Well, so you told me you're $200,000 in debt, and then when you factor in the mortgage on the home you lived in, that brought your debt to $650,000. Just give me an idea. I don't want to be too personal, but give me an idea at that particular time. Just a close idea of how much in monthly payments you guys had around that time. You don't have to tell me for what, but just kind of all thrown together. How much in monthly payments would you think, if you can remember back? About how much in monthly payments were you having to come up with?
Probably not counting like regular utilities and that kind of stuff. We were probably $7,000 to $8,000 in monthly payments.
Yeah, I remember some months it seemed like we were more, because I'd be like, "You got to be kidding! We don't owe that much." there was a lot of times where I thought that it's like, no, that you know, you don't need to work that much because there's no way that we have, you know, it seemed like everything was all good and, you know, but it wasn't.
$7,000 to $8,000 a month in payments.
Not counting utilities and all that kind of stuff.
When you count utilities, you're talking about probably another $200 or $300 for a light bill, maybe a $50 or $100 for a water bill.
We had teenagers,
Teenagers
car
needing
insurance,
gas
that kind of
and
stuff.
car insurance,
Yeah,
and
we were probably close to 10 overall, maybe a little over.
right, I can see why you're working 16 or 18 or 20 hours a day trying to figure out how to pay for all that. That must have been overwhelming. I can see now by you guys sharing the testimony how you finally got to a place that we've had enough of this. We want free from this prison, and then so because you got to that point in your lives and you decided to take this Dave Ramsey financial course, how then did you start chipping away at the debt? What was, besides the budgeting your money, I mean, even if you're going to change your lifestyle and you still own these things, did you sell a lot of things you didn't need to get rid of those payments? Did you continue to keep the same things? And then, so how did you change what was happening, the dynamics of what was happening to decrease? How'd you pay off the $7,000 or $8,000 a month or $9,000 a month in debt if you didn't get rid of some things?
Yeah, initially we didn't get rid of anything.
Well, we got rid of the RV.
The RV, but that was after, I thought.
It was in the process. We did get rid of the RV, which was that was financed. It was tightening up things as well as, you know, I mean, it's not spending. It's like, I don't really need that. Mm-hmm. I don't really need another horse.
Yeah.
We don't really need more cows. You know, it was tightening up things in different places. We don't need, just because the Joneses are getting a new car doesn't mean we need to get a new car. Yeah. We can deal with what we have.
Was a lot of your debt driven by trying to keep up to a certain status?
I don't think we were.
Was it just careless spending, not paying attention to what you were doing, and then all of a sudden you end up and look up one day and think, how did we acquire so much debt? Tell me what it was for you guys.
I think some of it for us in the beginning is lack of education from growing up. Mm-hmm. You know, we didn't come from silver spoon, you know, every upper class, you know, silver spoon in our mouth. We were more like plastic.
Your parents were school teachers, I think.
My parents were school teachers. Trina's stepmom was a school teacher. Her dad, you know, worked for a hydroelectric plant, you know. But I mean, they didn't just hand us money and, you know, it's like, here, go out, and both self-employed for a large portion of our marriage. So a lot of solution was like, okay, if we need to make more money, we just got to work longer and harder. And that was our solution. And then it just started cutting back on things. It's like, we don't really need that. We don't need to go out to dinner that many times. We don't need to, you know, we don't need to eat prime rib. You know, we don't have to have the top of the line things. The kids, you know, Christmas time, which is coming up, you know, maybe cut back on Christmas presents and just find ways to, but I was always willing to, you know, and we talked about it when things were tight, you know, always willing to, in order to get us out of debt, to sell stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't have to have the tractor. I could go back to small bales and, you know, and feed the cows with small bales, and then I can handle them by hand. I don't really have to have the tractor anymore. I could figure out how to do without it. You know, we could sell the tractor and pay something else off, but just chipping away at it, just taking as much as we could from little places and putting it all towards debt.
So if you took this class in 2019, I want people to be encouraged, and I want them to see that there is hope, that no matter where they find themselves, they may find themselves somewhere in this area of debt, or maybe approaching this debt, or maybe exceeding this debt in their own lives. If you guys took the class in 2019, it's 2024 now, how long have you been debt free? How long did it take? At what year were you debt free?
100%.
Yeah.
This year.
This year. So this is the February of this year. You guys finally accomplished knocking the debt down and being debt free. So from 2019 to 2024, it's 5 years. So in 5 years, through this class, through these principles, through being diligent and disciplined, you were able to knock down the entire $650,000 in debt.
And some sacrifices.
Yeah.
We did. Our last step was we moved from a larger home with more property to a smaller house and less property. And that allowed us, from selling the larger home with the property, that allowed us to have enough cash to pay off or to buy the new house outright.
So you sold the larger home and the larger land, had enough equity in it that you then put that money towards buying the smaller house with smaller property.
Yes.
Which alleviated the debt of having
We were
a
consumer
mortgage.
debt free, no vehicle debt, no we had one payment along with the mortgage, but we got rid of all that in February.
Yeah. So I guess that you guys are still driving the same vehicles that you had? You're not? So, let's just say, Sean, what model's your truck?
It's 2017 Ram.
2017 Ram, and it's a paid for.
Yes.
You don't owe anything on it. So, if through this principle, if you were going to get you a new truck, through this principle, how would you do that? Would you just wait and save up that money until you had enough money that you could go pay cash for it? So say that, let me put it like this. So instead of having a truck payment with interest that was $1,500 a month, would you just take the $1,500 a month and put it in a savings account and say, we're not getting a new truck until we have enough in this account to go pay cash for the new truck, so that we don't have payments and have to pay interest? Because we all know that when you buy a home or you buy a vehicle and then they add interest on it, a $500,000 home then becomes an $800,000 home, or a $1 million home over a period of 25 or 30 years of paying interest and interest accruing on that. Or if you buy a brand new vehicle that now is $80,000, you can finance them for 5 or 6 years. I don't know. I've never financed one, but I'm assuming you can finance it for 5 or 6 years. You're still going to have a payment of $1,500 or $2,000 a month. Put interest on that $80,000 truck for 6 years. That truck's going to cost you $100,000.
Yeah, the biggest thing is like we save up to buy our vehicles. I mean, you know, when you have your vehicle, pending how much miles you're putting on it, wear and tear and stuff.
Right.
You know, okay, it's gonna last me X number of years. Like for my job, I'm on the road a lot. So 2 years ago, we paid cash for my truck, but I set aside that money every month from my last truck to this current truck to make sure we had the money to pay cash for it.
Yeah. And that's a smart thing, because whatever you paid for the truck, that's what it cost.
Right.
You didn't have $20,000 in interest compounded on top of the cost of the
And you
truck.
could do that
Her
when you
last
have
two
no
trucks we
consumer
paid
debt.
cash for.
Yeah, and you could do that when you have no consumer debt.
So then that $20,000 that would have went toward interest, that $20,000 is there for you to put in a savings account or whatever you're going to do with it to buy something else that you need to be debt free, and not have to just continue that vicious cycle of borrowing here and borrowing there and borrowing here. And then you got a home with interest, you got 2 trucks with interest, and then you're ended up, there's, let's say, $100,000 worth of interest on all those things over a long period of time that's just gone. If you're not paying that interest, then there's $100,000 worth of cash money that you got somewhere to put somewhere, which can then help you to purchase other things that you need. So this whole debt-free deal, and honestly, I have experienced this. I didn't exactly go through all of the Dave Ramsey class, but I have seen enough of it and in the Word of God in my life that I've been debt-free for many, many years. Now, I have not ever driven a brand new $80,000 or $90,000 truck. I don't live in a $500,000 or $600,000 or $800,000 home. I had to adjust my standard of living in order to be able to be debt-free. but the peace of not being bogged down in debt and being a slave to the bank is so much more valuable to me than driving that $90,000 truck. I can drive my $25,000 truck and be just as happy knowing that I don't have that debt bogging me down. Now, would I love to have the $80,000 or $90,000 truck? Sure, if I could just go pay for it and not have to worry about the debt. But I do understand that this class and these principles, they have to be tailored to your family, to your family's needs, to your circumstances. And but what I wanted you guys to come on here for is because I want those that are watching this podcast and those who are going to be going to this class that may be bogged down in debt, especially young married couples, because we all know that besides mother-in-laws, just kidding, besides in-laws, money is probably the greatest divider in a marriage, probably one of the leading causes of divorce in marriage. I would say in-laws, kids, and money are probably three leading causes of divorce, especially in young couples. And man, if these young couples could alleviate this one area, get rid of this one area in their life that has a huge statistic of causing divorce, man, they could live so much more valuable, so much more at peace, have so much more of a fulfilling relationship if they could just learn to put these things into practice and discipline themselves and understand the freedom and the joy of being able to enjoy their lives together and not be enslaved to the bank or to the finance companies or whatever that is. And so I want them to be encouraged. I want them to know that, hey, you can be a couple that, how long were you guys married? 2019, how long? What point?
We got married in 2003.
16 years. So 16 years into your marriage, you find yourself $650,000 in debt. You're looking up, you don't spend time together, you don't spend quality time with the kids, you're working yourselves to the bone, trying to catch up, trying to make ends meet, and when you're in debt, you just can never catch up.
We could make it, we were making
if you continue to do the same things that you've always done.
We could make our payments, but we were one accident away from not being able
Yeah.
to.
Let's say if you were working 16 or 20 hours a day in order to meet that quota of payments, what happened if you get some dreadful disease and you're sick and can't work for 6 months?
Right.
Then what happens?
Yeah.
Because you've left no room for error, no margin for error. And that's what many couples do in their life, because a lot of young married couples look at mom and dad that's been married 40 years or 30 years or 50 years, grandparents, whatever, and they've achieved all these things in life, and they want them right now. They want that quick gratification. And so they go out and they're now consumed with debt, trying to have the same things that mom and them couldn't have the first 30 years of their marriage, or grandma and grandpa couldn't have the first 30 years of their marriage, but they want them right now. If they could just learn to wait, live among your means, and enjoy the peace and the rest and the joy inside, eliminate that turmoil of debt, and then grow as you can and put these practices into life. And then as you grow, you look up one day, and you guys have been married now for 21 years, because of this class and the principles in this class based on the Word of God. Now you guys sit here married 21 years, free from debt, not having to work yourselves to death. And we all know the older we get, the less energy we have, man, to work. There was a time when I worked nonstop, weekends and everything, but now I've come to the place in my life where I've had to scale back. I've had to quit rodeoing on the weekend, work at the rodeos on the weekends, just because physically I just couldn't go and work like I always did. And so we all, as we age, there's going to come that time where you just can't work the same amount of hours that you always did. So somewhere we got to make adjustments. We got to make changes in our life. And so that's what you guys have done. Now you guys are enjoying being debt free. You guys got good vehicles. I know your vehicles. They got a cool wake surf boat. They take me wake surfing all the time. I'm glad that they put these practices in, and then that they can afford to have that wake boat, and it's paid off. And instead of them having to work on Saturdays, we can go out to the lake and wake surf. So I'm glad that you guys put this principle into your life. And so I just want you guys to be encouraged that are watching this podcast today. I want to encourage you to come. Take time out of your lives to watch these classes. It's a 9-week class, one day a week, about an hour, hour and a half, on Sunday afternoons, 3 o'clock, starting January the 5th, right here at the Cowboy Church of Corsicana. Sean and Trina, thanks for being on the show today. Thanks for sharing your testimony. If it can happen for everyday people like Sean and Trina, it can happen for you. And they are a walking testimony that this class is worth the time and the effort, the investment for you to learn to do things God's way with money. So come, be a part of this class, and let God pour into your lives His blessings as He wants to. Thanks for tuning in today.